Right, Jeff, here we are again in your shed, and you've got some gaskets in your hand. So what you're up to?
Oh,
what's that gasket for?
Would you like to know?
Oh God.
No, what we've been doing is these covers. We have our test one there that we've made a few.
Well, first of all, step back a bit. It's a cover for what?
It's the GPZ or unit track
engined Kawasaki.
Later model one.
Yes. And that's the inner plate.
Well, that one's just like I say, a test piece.
Yes. But that's the inner plate for the outrigger system.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. So you got one test piece, 3 over there.
Unitrack.
Yeah. Okay.
I've milled them all out.
And why have you done that? That's required
this
because
is to clear.
Oh, okay. So there's the original.
Yeah, that's the original. Yeah.
That's the original there. We can see it.
We've got to try
and mimic that.
Mimic that. Yeah. I did bore a hole in there, but by the time I've milled most of that out, it's
gone.
It's took that out. It doesn't matter because it's thick enough.
So what's that clearance for then?
It's to clear the selector drum, the selector arms, and what we've got to do next.
Yeah.
That's for our selector arm.
Okay.
Obviously.
Yeah. There you go.
It's got all the clearance there. I've measured it all.
Yes.
You know, for clearance.
Yeah.
What we have to do, I've just grabbed another casing. That's got a recess in there. It's got to go out, that's got to go out to 20mm for the seal, and it's got to have clearance because obviously there's a weld. They put a weld there.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's got to have clearance.
Okay.
There's all these little things that has to be done.
Yeah. And you're saying
easy jobs, but
time consuming.
Very time consuming.
And you were saying you need to get a few of those. A few of those, which are the seals, the output seal.
Yeah.
And there's also a seal here. Is that for the gear change, is it? The gear change?
That's the gear change there, but what I've got to do is set that up on the mandrel and open it out to it 20mm.
And the one there?
Yeah, that's the gear shift one. So that'll have to be taken out.
Yes.
I could just pop the 12mm mandrel in there and just go in the depth of the seal so it just presses in.
Yeah, yeah.
Because it'll just give the shaft a little bit more support, you know, off that.
Yes.
A little bit.
Right, so but we need to buy these. We don't have enough yet. We need to buy a few of those.
But I did make a slight mistake.
Oh, go on.
I'm admitting to mistake.
Go on then. Mistake? Mistake? What? And what mistake is that?
I should have looked at. Well, I found this gasket.
Yes.
When I've milled these, I've gone across. I mill them sections out first.
Yes.
And I've gone. It's just a bit low there.
Yep. So the gasket doesn't quite.
No, it goes on about half the gauge of the gasket.
Okay.
Just there.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if you can see that.
Yes,
I
can.
It there.
Yeah, I can see. Yeah, I can see.
The gasket just comes over.
Okay.
Actually, I don't know if it's worth it because whether to get Jeff to put a little bit of weld, a little run of weld there,
yeah, just to refill
so then I can polish it flush. It doesn't have to go to the bottom.
No.
If it's as long as it's just like a little run.
Yeah.
3 or 4mm wide there, and we can just then flatten it off. As long as it's got
and recreate the surface.
And just recreate that little surface.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we can do that. No problem. It's not a big deal. It'll be 20 quid from Jeff the welder. It always is.
One for the comp bike, I remembered when I saw it.
Yeah.
And I've milled that.
Oh right, you did that one right.
That one up.
So mine you messed up. Yeah. But yours is fine. Mine's
no,
buggered
all the others have done them.
Oh great. Okay.
So these, but one of them actually. Don't get me wrong. If you put the gasket on and line it up, it has got half the gasket.
Yeah, but you don't want to risk it, do you? I don't want to have a risking of a little leak there.
It's
in the lower part
more
of it.
Or less, it's a tiny, just a little bit hanging over there, but it's where it starts to go up.
Yes.
I've gone along
flat,
and it's probably about 3 or 4mm in that corner.
Yes. Okay.
Where
don't worry, we can sort it out.
If we get a little bit of,
yeah.
Well, the thing is, 3 or 4 won't doing so. We'll have to take them all at once.
Yeah, no problem. We'll
get them done.
Yeah. Right, okay, we've come over here now because I can see on your bench there some very shiny little brackets, which are my brackets.
Your brackets, yeah.
That you've been polishing away.
Now.
Just in time because they've got to go. Yeah, they're still.
You're gonna see that mark in that one?
Yeah.
Now that goes on.
Is that the inside?
That's the inside.
Oh, well,
so you're never going to see that mark.
No, I'm not going to spend hours getting rid of that. Don't worry.
No, that side. I've got everything else lovely, but I thought I'm not going to spend.
No.
I think when I made it, it's on the inside. Once it's built, you'll never see that.
No, I know it's there, but I won't care.
And that's the one. You know,
the opposite one.
Yeah. So the front of the bike's out. This is for the rear of the engine.
Right. And the front one there.
That's the. Now. This front one,
yes,
some of these long bolts, when that was in, and it was bolted up to the engine, You've got to put the engine spacers in yet.
I know.
Things.
Yeah.
Now, when that was bolted up on the side,
Yeah.
is it that way or that way? I noticed it had a couple of thin washers in there. 2 was in there, and we might have to get some stainless little shims.
Okay, I've got stainless.
I've got the original galvanised washers.
No, I've got stainless washers at home.
I found when you slid them in, when they make it, the 2 lugs that are welded in the frame aren't
quite
once the
parallel.
engine's in, they're not dead level.
Okay,
so
well,
that'll want nipping up, and then it'll want
shimming.
just
Okay.
you know, like a correct thick
Yes.
washer. Just
no problem.
to-
No problem.
to
I've got
bolt
various
it.
bits and bobs. I'll leave that. Anyway, so
well, once the bottom one's in,
yes,
it's got the front bottom one, hasn't it? Once you've got that in, you can
don't
then
take
just
it off.
yeah,
Put it on,
because
take it
everything wants to just nip up.
yes,
Spot
just right,
on,
just right.
yeah.
And in fact, while we're here, I notice you've got something else polished too. You've got that polished.
What?
This bracket here,
Oh,
that is your Mark II version.
oh, hang on.
That isn't for my Kawasaki,
No,
by the way.
this
That's for the big back end of the Harley.
yeah. What I've done with that,
Yeah.
I've polished around the edge and got it out. That's lovely.
Yes.
But sometimes you can give it a rub, and then you get it on the buffer, and then the marks that come out. So
Oh, yeah.
I've given it a good polish.
Yeah.
But you could still see like
Yeah, I can still
tiny
see it.
little
Yeah,
marks.
it
So
takes hours and hours.
I've actually just got some 240s
Yeah.
and blocked it down again. So I'm going to give it.
I actually get down to 800 before I
Yeah.
polish it, but anyway, it just takes hours, doesn't it? It just takes hours.
with that there.
Yeah. Jeff's got his polishing mop there, so he's all right.
It's good.
Yeah,
It's-
and in fact, that's going to be to go on that wheel and that swing arm there, which is for a Harley Evo Softail, I think. Anyway, that's
So,
something else,
yeah.
completely different. So that's nothing to do with the Kawasaki, so we'll end that there. Right, so I brought along this time a box with the M-Unit inside. So if you open that up, you'll see
correct
the
one?
Yeah, I brought the right one. Found it eventually. It says the M-Unit. It's quite expensive. That's about £250 worth there. And that needs to be bolted onto the outside of this.
Of that?
Yes.
Ah. Well, so if we drill that,
Yeah,
put it.
yeah,
What?
yeah. It's got 2 mounts. It's got that secondary hole there isn't a mount. It's, that's for the earth. So ignore
Well,
that.
where do you want that?
Well, approximately where it is there.
Is there? Right.
There is some debate about whether you have it that way or the other way, but there's pros and cons. There's pros and
I
cons.
don't know. Now, mind you, if we drill it, it don't matter whether it goes that way or that way. I don't know. Does it matter?
No.
So, are you? Should we keep it in the middle?
Yes.
Well,
It's going to be behind the side panel.
see, that's where do you want to keep it in the middle? Say that's the vertical. Do you want to keep it in the middle
yes,
of that?
yeah, keep it simple.
Yeah. So no, you know, like you say, if that carried on like that, ooh,
Yeah.
bit
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah.
So we'll sort of balance it out in the middle of that,
Yeah.
which is probably going to be about there.
Yeah. You don't have to be a millimetre perfect on that particular thing.
So as long as it's in there, as long as it's there,
Yeah.
we can't go wrong.
No. So there's a little job to
Right.
do. It's quite awkward to do because it's an awkward shape. And as you said to me before,
I'm going to
you
have to set up a little thing to sit
and put a bit of wood underneath it to support it and so on.
unless I can find a piece of wood
Yes.
that'll knock in there to
Yes, just to
support it.
Yes, yeah.
You know, I might have to
Which I'm sure you will.
file or
Yeah.
sand a bit of
Yeah.
temp wood, a block to go in to support
yes,
it.
Yeah.
Probably easiest way, easiest doing that.
Okay,
yeah.
so if you pop that back in its box because it's quite an expensive bit of kit, and then that's another little job for the next few days.
Oh.
Yeah, I'll leave it here for you because you need that to
Right. Well,
mount it. We'll put it somewhere safe.
shall we?
Put it in the box.
Hey?
Put it inside the box.
I'll leave it. All
right.
there.
Okay.
I'll leave it.
Leave it there.
It'll be all right.
Okay,
That'll be
so that's
super.
that
Yeah. Right. So
sorted
we can
out.
get on with that.
Yeah, I've also brought you today
Uh,
the missing spindle, wheel spindle that we went missing,
there, yeah.
and there it is. So now we can fit the
I can
front
set that
wheel,
up, yeah.
that front wheel's down there,
Yeah.
because then we can, if you look over there, there's my front mud guard that we need to check and make sure
There.
it fits okay on the front end. It's all go, we need to move quickly now because, oh yeah, that's your birthday present.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's
for
Jeff's birthday
for
last
taping
week.
up your parcel.
Yes,
That's
for
real
eBay.
kind of you. That.
Yeah, there'll be some left over
Yeah.
for you.
Yeah, probably about 2
Yes.
layers.
Well,
I'll
don't
say,
look,
"Oh, I've got a
don't
bit
look
left
at your
and-"
horse in the mouth,
Ah.
Jeff. You know, us poor people can't afford too much.
You've still got some of that on a roll
I
in
know,
there
I know.
that you brought.
Handy for making seats, isn't it?
It is, yeah. It's
Right, okay, so that's that, and now we'll look at what else is going on.
Well, apart from doing these,
Yes. Is that it?
Not really much, really.
Okay. Well, in that case, we'll end it there, because tomorrow, it's today's Friday, tomorrow's Saturday, I'll be going to see your Les at his workshop, because, exciting news, he's finally got the ignition system for the GPZ motor he built, and he's also finally got the special manifolds to fit my Mikuni RS34 flat slides to the motor. And he sent me a quick little text saying, look, here's the engine with the... It's like, oh great, I want to go and see that. So that's why it's all happening now, because hopefully next week the frame comes back and we can hopefully get the engine back in the frame with these new
right,
mounts.
Well, don't forget them.
Yeah, I need them.
So, like you say, you could just hang them up.
Yeah, these are the coil mounts.
Spray them. You got some Amorite.
Don't worry, I'll spray it gloss black. It's no problem.
Give them a bit of a rub down first.
Oh god, yeah.
Make sure get any scale.
That's my job for tonight. I'll take it along tomorrow.
Ideally, a little shot blast on them would be ideal, but
I've got some wire brush on it. Be fine. Yeah. So hopefully this time next week, the engine will be finished, back in the frame. And that's about it, because there's
I'll have this done. At least you can get that on there.
Yeah, we can get on it. I still don't have a front sprocket to go on it. But
we'll have to work that out, what we're doing. We might just put something in the thingy to, just like a little, something like a bit decorative or something, just to make it look like there's an outrigger.
No. After that trouble and all that expense of building something like that, it's going to bloody work. So yeah.
Well, unless we actually make a sprocket that slides on and
we'll sort something out. Yes.
Off it.
Yes. We'll sort it out. More expense. So that's that. So we'll leave it there, Jeff, and I might see you next week, and we'll see what happens then.
We shall certainly do that.
Exciting days.
I shall get on with milling.
Indeed. Right then, Les, here we are again, back in your workshop, and next to you you've got an almost finished Z1170 motor, now with ignition, and also with my Mikuni carbs finally mounted, because you have to go and get the Dyna S ignition, and also the special, not special, but the appropriate manifold rubbers to mount the carbs.
Well, I just had to make sure the rubbers that we're buying matched the Mikuni carbs.
Yeah, so they're made for a Z1000J, I think you said.
Z1000J, GPZ 1100.
Right, okay, so that's that done. And next up then is the frame's due to come back from Triple S soon.
Some point next week.
Next week. And when it does, we've got everything ready. We've got the mounts, whatever, ready to go to put that engine back in the frame at last. At which point it can maybe come to my house. God knows where it's going to go because I've got no room, but I'm sure I'll make room, and then we can make some more progress. Yes, that's pretty good. Looking around here, next to that engine of mine is your engine.
My engine I made a start on.
Yeah, that's your ZL1000 engine.
It is.
That you're rebuilding.
Yeah.
And I believe, just like the Z, you actually build it upside down. So that's like, is that the top?
That's the top crankcase, yeah.
And then you put the bottom on top.
The bottom crankcase goes onto it,
Yeah. In fact, we spin round.
It's down there.
There's the
with the new selector drum and selector forks.
Yeah. Right, good. So that's pretty much it. Anything else to talk about the engine in particular? Anything that went wrong? Anything that went right?
Nothing. Everything's gone straightforward, really.
Yeah.
There's no oil in it, obviously.
No, it can stay empty for the time being.
That's about it, really.
Yeah.
I've just test fitted the carbs onto the stubs after measuring all the sensors.
Yeah.
These are adjustable, these race carbs.
Yeah, you can alter
the spacing. Yeah. Luckily, these were already set up for the standard spacing on these.
Yeah.
Like I say, all you need now is some clips for here.
Yes.
I didn't know whether you wanted stainless steel aftermarket ones or genuine Kawasaki.
Oh, stainless steel.
Yeah, that's why I didn't buy anything. So
we'll get that.
So they're just popped in nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Just a matter of timing the ignition, timing up and checking. I've timed it up statically. I just need to check it on the bike when it's running.
Yeah. Also, what I need to get soon is an exhaust system.
Yes.
I've been umming and ahhing, and I've come down to 3 options. One option is to make one from scratch.
Right, I know how difficult that is.
I know. It also takes a long time, and in terms of cost, it's not much different from having just gone buying one. Next one is a Vance & Hines 4:1 with a megaphone, and I always like them. They're
nice, very retro.
Very nice,
suit the bike.
Yeah, very nice. The final option is to go for a Delcovic stainless steel option, again with the bigger silencer on it, because they do one that's just like a 4:1, a very sort of alpha 4:1, which I don't like. But they also do one, even though it's stainless steel, they also do one which is also being ceramically coated. It's like black. It's like satin black.
Right.
And I like that because I thought it might suit the engine. It might suit the style. And I've been umming and ahhing, and I finally found a photograph, God knows where it was on the internet, of a similar bike to mine with that exhaust pipe on it, and it looked really nice. So I'm thinking, oh, I might do that. So the stainless steel version is about $350, which is actually very good value. And the black version is about $500.
Yeah.
Which is actually the same price as a Vanta 9's, which is chrome. So
yeah,
it's like
chrome mild steel.
Yeah. So I'm thinking in terms of like, even though that bike won't be ridden through a winter, it might still get wet occasionally. So I might go for the old stainless steel.
You've got to be careful sometimes. I mean, you've taken out these rubber mounts.
Yeah.
And Jeff's made solid mounts.
Yes, that's right.
So the engine's more rigid in the frame, which is
good.
Good. It's good. It's good for handling, but it's not good for the exhaust system because if you run stainless pipes. Everything's rigid. You can get the pipes cracking, especially stainless ones.
Isn't that the same, let's say, a Z1 or a Z9?
Yeah, it's just you've just got to make sure that you rubber mount the tail end of the pipe.
It'll be done right.
Yeah, so it doesn't. I think you've got a bit of movement in it.
I mean, the amount it's going to do, it's not going to wear out.
No, I doubt it very much.
So that's the next thing to buy once I've got the engine in the frame. Right, good. So that's that. So we'll now stop talking about my engine and we'll talk about your engine on this thing here. Because I've had one viewer has been hassling me, not hassling, but has been commenting saying, can you please find out about this and that and tell me how it's done. So yeah, okay, I will. So for that one viewer who's out there right now, we're going to do that. We'll answer the questions that you've asked of me. So here we go.
Okay.
Right, okay, let's move your bike to one side.
Yeah.
So we can see this side of your bike, and the first question this chap asked me was about the ignition system.
Right.
And you notice that obviously you've got the drive for the supercharger where normally you have the ignition pickups.
Yes.
So the first question is, how is that done? How have you got your ignition pickups working when you've got the pulley in the way there instead?
Yeah, well obviously I've got an ignition wheel which you can't really see.
That sits behind.
Here. There's a 36 tooth wheel.
Okay.
Keyed to the drive shaft.
Right.
And I've got a crank sensor here.
Okay, and that wheel's got one tooth missing.
One tooth missing, yeah.
So it can sense
well,
when
you start with one tooth, and if it doesn't particularly run right, you can remove more teeth.
Oh, right,
so
okay.
it triggers easier. And
okay. So that then triggers a signal which goes where?
To the ECU.
Right, so you've got a separate ECU,
yeah.
which is non-standard.
Yeah, it's a programmable ECU, yeah.
And where's that from?
That is from DTA Fast.
DTA Fast.
Company in Manchester,
okay.
UK.
And does that ECU also calculate the ignition system?
Oh, no, it's actually programmable.
Programmable, and so you can alter the advanced retard.
All the parameters of it, yeah.
Yeah. And does it also handle the injection system as well?
It does.
Okay. So I believe you plug it into a laptop and play around with it.
That's right, like you do with modern cars and modern bikes.
But I believe your one problem was it's quite an old system.
Yeah, it's a 20-year-old ECU.
So you have to plug it into an old laptop with running an old...
It's running old software, yeah.
Windows
7 or something crazy, yeah.
Okay. So that's how the ignition works. Next question is, clearly it's been supercharged, so what have you done with the internals of the engine to handle that, or to change? What changes have you made?
Well, the crank's been welded.
Yes.
Because they're pressed up cranks on these bikes.
Yeah.
So you have to weld, once you've built the crank, you have to weld them to stop them twisting.
Yes.
So that's been done. All the crankcase studs are heavy duty.
Yeah, like on my bike, yeah.
Cylinder studs heavy duty.
Yes.
All APE from America. Also, there's a cap that holds the crankshaft into the crankcase. It's aluminium. And what APE do, they do a steel plate and studs which reinforces that cap.
Right. Okay.
That's been done.
Right.
So there's lots of internal work.
What pistons is it running?
It's running forged
pistons.
MTC.
Yeah.
1260cc turbo
1260,
pistons.
which means a low compression.
The low compression, I've worked out the compression. It's 8.174 to 1,
right.
To be exact.
Standard ones are what, about 11 or something? 10 to 11?
It varies on the model.
Yeah.
But most Kawasaki road bikes of this era were about 8.5, 9 to 1.
Right,
which is quite low
for
today's standards.
Yeah.
Because they're up to 11 to 1 now, and 12 to 1.
Now I see you've got a spacer behind the clutch plate there, behind the clutch cover.
Yes.
Which indicates you might have a lock-up clutch or something. Or
there is a lock-up clutch on it,
so you've got a lock-up clutch as well.
Yeah.
Right, okay, that's good. Now the next question you asked me was about oiling. Like, what have you done in terms of the oiling? Because I think you could notice you've got those oil lines going to the ends of the cams there.
Yes.
So what's happening with that?
Yeah, well, the original...
Let me actually move that. I'll just try and get a bit closer. Hang on. See what's going on there. Let me just... Right, yeah, so I've got a bit closer. So now we can see those two oil lines going to the ends of the cams.
Yeah, yeah. There's a distribution block under the tank.
Yeah.
One line comes in from here, from the end of the oil gallery.
Okay.
You can see this where my finger is.
Hang on, let me just zoom in there.
That's the end of the oil gallery.
Okay, so that's pumping oil.
So there's no oil, the oil's pumped up that line.
Yeah.
It goes underneath the tank to a distribution block.
Right.
One line in.
Yep.
And then 4 lines come out.
Right, to either side.
One to each camshaft drill in here.
Right.
So it's the oiling system doesn't go through the studs like originally.
So you drill that head to take...
Yeah, I've drilled these out here. They're where they cap off the gallery.
Right.
There's a plug in the head standard, and that's been drilled out, removed, threaded, and then I've made these long banjo bolts. And
so that kind of replaces the feed that comes up through the...
Yeah, the feed comes up through this rear stud, and then there's all internal drillings.
And does it still do that, or has that been blanked off?
It's been blanked off.
Okay.
Originally, when I first ran the bike years ago, this line came up to this oil cooler here at the front of the bike.
Yeah.
And then the line came out of the cooler to the distribution block.
Right.
So the oil going up to the top of the engine was getting cold there through the radiator. Yeah, it was being cooled, yes. But I've subsequently not done that now. I'm taking all the engine oil through this cooler.
Right.
From takeoffs at the back of the engine.
Right. And why is that? Just because it was simpler?
Yeah. Well, the theory was I put all the oil through this cooler, and then I was going to put a second cooler here.
Right.
In the more traditional place where people fit coolers, just above the header pipes here actually, and I was going to run this line into a second cooler.
Oh, yeah, 2 coolers. Okay.
So I'd have twin coolers.
Yeah.
But that all depends on how hot it runs under boost.
I guess you don't want to be too cool. Getting too cool.
I made the bike when I've run it in the past. It was overcomplicated, the bike, and I've tried to simplify it over the years.
Well, it is a very complicated bike. It's also, of course, got twin plugged head.
Yeah. 8 plugs. Yeah.
8 plugs. Yeah. More complication. Supercharged. Now, do you run any sort of line to the supercharger?
I did do.
Yeah.
I used to have a line up to here.
Yeah, I see a little...
which fed the bearings in the nose drive.
Right.
The oil would then
drain
through the meshing gears of the supercharger, and then out through an outlet and back into the engine.
Yeah.
But I had problems with that.
Did it smoke a bit? Was it?
Well, what was happening was the oil feeding the supercharger was hot engine oil. So obviously it was carrying heat to the blower, which you don't want.
No.
So what I decided to do was use the oil in the blower is separate from the engine now.
All right.
So there's a little filler at the top here, and a filler at the bottom, a drain, sorry, here. And I put a glass window in, sight glass.
So it's like a little gearbox. It's like
it's like a small
sealed
gearbox,
okay.
sealed, and it has its own little oil supply.
And how would that be done then in a standard application? Because that supercharges off some car, isn't it, or something?
Yeah, standard Eaton blowers, I think, just have
an oil
like
bath.
that. It's
an oil bath, basically. Yeah.
Just an oil bath.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
And it runs okay. Yeah. Okay. Because obviously do you have fuel as well going in there, or you've got an injection block after the supercharger, but
that's right. The supercharger is just compressing air. Right. There's no fuel going through the blower.
Sometimes they do, don't they? Because it helps to seal it and cool it.
You've just took the words out of my mouth. Yeah, that is an advantage of running fuel through the blower.
Yeah.
It helps to seal the rotors, and it also helps to cool the blower.
But what also might happen is you could get a backfire that'll blow the damn thing up because it's full of gas, it's full of fumes. That happens. I've seen that happen on a drag bike.
You get a bias when you run fuel through a turbo.
Yes.
Some of the old turbo systems that were here, the middle cylinders tended to run leaner than the outer two cylinders.
Okay.
They were starved of air.
Right.
So what I've done, I've put the fuel injectors here, so that I was hoping.
Yeah, I mean, with a blower, an injection system's much more efficient than just having a great big carburetor on the outside of the...
Yeah, well, there are advantages to carbs.
Yeah.
There's pros and cons to every setup.
Yeah.
Well, I've tried it this way.
Right, so that's how the oiling works. Is there any other changes apart from that to the oiling system? Apart from you run it, so obviously you're doing that to give more oil.
Well, I've put a deep sump on.
Okay.
So the oil capacity is increased from about 3.7 litres. I think was the standard for Kawasaki 1000 engine.
Yeah.
This is running more like 6 litres of oil.
Okay.
So the more oil. It's not
and is that done with a spacer, or have you got a completely different?
It's actually a different casting.
Okay.
Again, I think it's an American
MTC
sump.
Yeah.
That they used to put on KZ1000s, Z1000s back in the 70s.
And the reason for doing that work with the those pipes to the cams is just to make it feed a bit more oil.
Yeah, well, what you don't want is if you don't want any problems with oil leaking from across the head gasket into the cylinder.
Yeah.
It eliminates that.
Right. Okay. Right. Anything else we can talk about the engine before we stop?
It's got a close ratio gearbox.
Oh yes, that's right. Yeah, you were telling me that's quite a rare bit of kit.
It's a genuine Kawasaki close ratio gearbox.
And was that made originally for a race bike, I assume?
They were for all the Kawasaki race bikes. Yeah. So it's a very tall first gear.
Yeah. And then a closer.
I think some of the gears are standard, the same ratios as the standard box, but they've basically moved all the ratios together.
Yeah.
So you haven't got big steps in the ratios.
No.
So it's a taller first gear, which is fine for a big powerful engine like this.
Yeah, torque engine.
Yeah.
Right, okay. Anything else about the engine that we've not mentioned yet?
Oh, there's lots of things. You know, there's my top engine mount. Not discussed. There's the outrigger plate we've not discussed.
Yeah, that's really on the outside of the engine. It's not the internals of the engine, is it? Let me just come around here.
Internally,
let me just kind of squeeze round here. I can show you that down there. There's the outrigger. And there's
a fitted water injection.
Yeah, that's right. That's that little.
That's the only place I could fit it.
Yeah, there it is there. And the reason for that is to cool the charge, I guess.
It is. Yeah. The engine's been getting up to about 125 degrees C.
Yeah, let me come back this way.
Which I thought was hot.
Yeah.
Because most water-cooled engines run at between 80 and 90 degrees C. But apparently air-cooled engines do naturally run hotter.
Particularly the heads. Yeah.
But trying to find out how hot air-cooled engines normally run at is difficult. I've looked on internet and
I think Harley engines can run up to like 180.
Yeah.
But I can't remember now if that's centigrade or Fahrenheit because it's American, so it might be in Fahrenheit.
Well, Americans use Fahrenheit.
Yeah.
180 sounds a bit low in Fahrenheit terms.
I can't remember now, but I did read a very detailed analysis of oils, and they were saying, well, Harleys need better quality oil because they run so hot. The heads run so hot compared to a modern water-cooled engine.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Well, these old engines with the roller bearing cranks and roller bearing big ends, they tend to like the American oils.
Yeah.
A lot of drag racers used to run Kendall oil. Yeah. And that was supposed
to be... as I remember, this was some years ago, they recommended Motil 1, I think, which was synthetic. Which was a very early synthetic engine.
There is a people out there that think modern oils don't tend to suit these older engines.
Yeah. Oh well. I guess somebody else would tell you something different.
Well, I'm actually running a fully synthetic oil in this, but it was developed for roller bearing cranks by Rock Oil.
Rock Oil, okay, yeah.
And that's a 2060.
Oh, okay. Local company, of course. Local company.
Local company. I like to put money
locally.
Locally. So, and I've had no problems with the oil that I'm running this.
Well, I'll be using just standard oil in that until it's running, and then we'll flip over to using some synthetic oil probably.
Since I last run it, I've actually sped the blower up a bit. Yeah. Because I was having trouble
building boost.
Not so much building boost. I was having trouble low speed running, and I've been on some of the Eaton Supercharger forums, and I spoke to one guy who was very knowledgeable, and he reckons that when this was idling, the supercharger wasn't pumping enough air for the size of the engine, because they're only about 50% efficient at idle. These superchargers at low revs. So I've sped the blower up. I've overdriven the blower. So there's more air
going in.
But now when I fire it up, of course, my fueling's all to cock again.
Yeah, it's not going to fuel.
And it runs for about 30 seconds and dies.
Yeah.
And you'll fire it up again, it runs for 30 seconds and dies. And looking at the air-fuel ratio, it looks really, really lean.
Yeah, so you've got to reprogram
so
the injection
now
system.
I've got to find a day where I can plug my laptop in
and play with it, yeah.
and add some more fuel.
Yeah, it's very frustrating. But at least you can do it on the laptop. You don't have to take the damn thing apart and rejet it and so on.
Ideally, I need a rolling road to do it on.
Well, no man with no.
I haven't got access to a rolling road.
No.
Oh, dyno.
Yeah.
Oh, well, ideally, it could be.
I'd like,
one. I'd like it to be set up on
a dyno. Man with one, so you can always go and see him. Anyway, that's a different subject. Yes, that's that. If anybody's watching this, the guy, I can't remember his name or his sign on, he asked me about the engine, so that's what we just talked about. So hopefully you're happy now and you can go off and build your own.
Any more questions? Put it in the comments.
Yeah. Don't ask me, I won't know, but I'm sure you will know. Anyway, so that's that. So we'll move on to something else now.
Okay.